Thank, thank you, Raja. That's quite helpful. And again, like I would request the MC to sort of manage the deck I've circulated, and because I've sort of logged in through iPad. First of all, I'd like to thank Raja and NIPM office bearers for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I always look forward to interact with young budding professionals. Quite happy to see so many young people, though all of them have switched off their video. I would like to see their faces, but still some of I could see profile picture in most of the cases. Good to see you all. I'll try to keep my presentation short, and I would urge you to ask as many questions as possible to make this session interactive. I understand the moderator will do a Q&A at the end, as I just mentioned. While I am more comfortable talking extempore without a deck, since Raja insisted, I am going to sort of share some slides. However, just a warning, I may not all the time stick to the slides, and I have a tendency to sort of go away from the slide as I sort of progress. But I hope I will do justice to the time you all given for me next 30 to 40 minutes, and try to make the session more meaningful and interesting at the end of the session. I would be glad if you have at least few takeaways. So we are going to talk about managing generational workforce. Moderator, if you can sort of project the first slide, please.
Harni, go ahead and share the slide.
Okay, as the moderator project the slide, let me start. Just look around yourself, look around the Zoom. Okay, you're all youngsters, you're all students, all from the same age group. Is there any variation? The answer is no. But once you go back to work, when you start working, which you all will do next, I believe, 1 or 2 years, you are not going to have such a homogeneous group when you start working. You are going to have very varied colleagues with same as your age, colleagues with a little more experience, and colleagues really older. So not everyone around is going to be the same, like you, talk the same way, dress the same way, or behave the same way. So when you talk about diversity in the workplace, typically we tend to talk about things like gender, which is men and women. But age is another important dimension of the diversity. Although some of the stereotypes about different generations are overblown, it's true that people of different ages often bring very different and variable perspective and insight, on the work they do. Let's look at multiple generation work today. Like you'll see shortly in the slide, different generations. I mentioned about. The first is traditionalists. Most of them would have retired by now. Next is boomers, the most of grandparents, so to say. Gen X, your parents would fit into this category, and they would have been in the advanced stage of their career at this point of time. Millennials, much has been talked about millennials. Gen 2020, they all belong to that group. Okay, so these are the different categories of workforce we have. Different category of generations basis the age we have now. Still, we have challenge. We are not able to project the slide. I'm happy to continue with this way.
Mr. Senthil, you go ahead. I will get that sorted out. You go ahead. I'll get that sorted out. Bankumar, okay. Here, I'll get that sorted out.
No problem. So I have this. I just want to address first the myths. There are few myths and stereotypes about these generations. I don't know how many of you have seen the brochure which the organizers have circulated, I'm referring to the note that has been given for this particular session. With the due respect to the organizers, I have a different view. I fully do not subscribe to what is mentioned. Raja, hope you don't mistake. What is mentioned is that in the note, what is mentioned in the note is baby boomers are loyal and self-motivated. Gen X are agile and leaders. Gen Y are idealistic and tech savvy, and millennial, like Gen 2020 or Gen Z, as you call it, are multitaskers and independent. As I said, I beg to differ with this generalization. Uh, every generation has a constructive difference of opinion with the previous generation. There is nothing unique about anything of undue concern in this. The differences are good. This is just part of an evolutionary process which human must live through, the personal as well as the work life. Uh, you cannot stereotype people with certain age group that they will act and behave in this particular direction. So in that aspect, I said I would differ from what is mentioned in the brochure. Coming back, talking about the myths. Okay, before talking about myths, before talking about the differences, the research definitely shows that there are similarities across the age groups. There are there are things which are universal, cutting across the geography or whichever age group you belong to. For example, family. Family is something which is very, very important and top thing for all of us, irrespective of which age group we are. However, there are differences. Coming back to the myths we talked about, yes, here we go. If you can go, I'm in slide number 3, few myths and stereotypes, moderator. This, yeah, that slide. So if you talking about the myths, millennials prefer to communicate via technology more than the other generation. Uh, Maybe true partially, but it's important to acknowledge that there are technological gaps in the workforce. Uh, when I started working very long back, I'm sure many of you are not born.
Excuse
Uh,
me, sir. One
yes,
second. Harni, please make it slideshow. Thank you. Sir, you may proceed.
we used to. There were typewriters in offices. Okay, and computers were just introduced, and we used to have something called COBOL MS Office, which all no one would even hear of today. So it's true that millennials, especially those who are born between 1984 and 94, and Gen X, those who are born after 94, are more adept at using new software and systems for work tasks. Uh, when it comes to communication, however, okay, research shows that people like you are still prefer meeting co-workers. Like in-person meeting is more important than any of your social media or a digital media. The other myth we keep seeing is uh, certain significant percentage of millennials would like flexibility at work. Seriously, flexibility is something which everyone looks for. Like no one wants rigidity. This is another serious myth. The third myth is millennial wants to recognize and rewarded. This is again another serious myth. Like everyone wants to be rewarded. Like who doesn't want a reward? With regard to respect, with regard to, I think you guys need to move your slides. Next slide, please. Yes, this is a slide. Everyone wants respect. It's not that only people with certain age group, like people at you know in a more aged, they expect the respect and not juniors. When it comes to aged people, the respect is my value, my views valued. When it comes to youngsters, the respect is, am I heard? Do people listen to what I say? That's a difference. Otherwise, everyone needs respect. Change. Okay. Old generation do not want change. Another myth. Everyone resists change. That's a hard truth. Whether you are a 60-year-old, you are a 20-year-old, because a change is always painful. unless the individual sees value in that change, unless the individual sees benefit in the change, everyone one resists change. As you guys pass out when you go to work, this is something which this one piece will keep hearing. Older people are resist change, which is not true. To make someone adapt to change, whether you are in 20s or you are in 40s or you are in 60s, you need to show the individual what is in it for him or her. Okay. Uh, the last thing, like, loyalty. Okay. It's always said, right? Older people are more loyal. Youngsters are not loyal. It's again another a big myth, if you ask me, and that's what the research also shows. For example, the amount of time a worker puts in each day has most to do with his or level in the organization. The higher the level, the more hours you put in. Okay. Naturally, in a situation, in most of the cases, of course, youngsters become CEOs nowadays. Someone at a senior you know, would be definitely an advanced stage, a stage of career, and he or she would put more hours than a youngster. That doesn't mean that old people are loyal and young people are loyal. So this myths and stereotypes, which I feel, you know, budding HR professionals like you should keep it in mind. Uh, when you encounter managers, when you count employees, when you create a policy, when you create programs, these myths you should sort of sort of keep it in mind and see through before deciding on anything. uh, Moving on, next slide, moderator. uh, what are the generational workforce? See, why cannot we have people of same age group? Why cannot we have people in 20s? Why cannot we have only experienced people in organization? Research and experience definitely shows that there are benefits in having a workforce which is multi-generational. There are benefits in having workforce, which is 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. What it brings? What is the benefit? There are a few benefits I would like to call out. One of the benefit is better innovation and problem solving. Okay, we have seen ourselves, right? In a homogeneous, compared to a homogeneous group, a mixed group, a group with different generation comes with a better ideas. There's a famous saying like, two heads are better than one. When two people come together to solve a problem, they can pool their experiences and ideas, devise better solution. It's even better when the heads are also different. They got different ideas, different perspectives, different life experiences. Okay. For example, me who grew up without an internet, I have my own perspective compared to most of you would, even to boil a rice, I assume would Google or check a YouTube, right? So my perspective is going to be very different from your perspective. When both me and you work together, the organization will flourish with new ideas and innovation. That's one point. The other point I want to call out is customer base coverage. Okay, as an organization, many times you would be, uh, you know, uh, servicing to the clients of different client, segments. For example, I come from a banking industry. Okay, we do have clients across the age group. We do have young millennials, young, Gen Z. Okay, youngster. Yeah. People just pass out of colleges like you in our salary account segment. We do have, high net worth individuals, rich millionaires who invest through us. So we have a different kind of, client base. We do, it definitely helps. We have a mixed, workforce. Just to give you an example, my father used to work in a bank. Okay, when he was in bank and he used to be a teller, I remember my mother or anyone would walk up to a bank, stand in queue, withdraw cash. I never remember standing in a queue, taking money from a teller. I remember always like withdrawing money through ATM, and of course I'm used to now, what do you call, internet banking. My kids, my 9, 10 years old kids, they are not even comfortable with ATM. They are more comfortable with Google Pay and Paytm. Okay. So, different age groups with a different perspective and, different value systems definitely bring in the kind of diversity that helps you to sort of serve customers of a different generation. Third, you don't learn everything through internet or in colleges, right? You do need to learn from one another. Okay, mentorship is what I'm referring to. We do need our own Tim Cooks. We do need our own Sundar Pichais who belongs to different generations. One can learn from each other. So from a mentorship, when I say mentor, we'll talk about when I say mentorship, it's not necessarily learning, juniors learning from seniors. It's other way around also, which is called reverse mentoring. I'll talk about it a little later. But again, learning from each other happens when there is the difference in the generation also. So, these are the few benefits of having a multi-generational workforce. If you look at all business imperatives, it's not good to have a multi-generational workforce. There are business imperatives and business benefits to it. Let's move on. In terms of next slide, please. In terms of generations, in terms of when you talk about diversity, okay, we always say like, there are, differentiation, there are biases, there are stereotypes, there are prejudice and discrimination. If it's, gender, you always feel like, women are less advantageous, men are subject to discrimination. So we need to sort of do more of, things to sort of help them to get the equal rights. Same way it applies to gender. Okay, you are someone new, you are someone with a lesser experience, you are someone just out of college, you go through a discrimination. You are someone in the verge of retirement, you are in a very advanced stage of career, you are subject to discrimination. It's quite common, like you see job advertisements, like I see many of my consultant friends when they post in social media also see this job only for candidate below this age, or this job is only for candidate who are above this age. There were clear discrimination and stereotypes. This, for example, a manager may favor a older employee because the manager would feel that the older employee would be more. It's all assumption again, mature and loyal. Maturity doesn't come with age, by the way. Other hand, a manager could also say, I'll hire a younger candidate because younger individuals would potentially stay long, whereas the older individual would retire or go away soon. So these are stereotypes which are really toxic in workplace, which, once you get into your work, when you become an HR professional, you need to really, sort of mindful of and prevent employees, and make your organization more inclusive. You should make sure as an HR professional, senior leaders are aware of these myths, stereotypes, biases, prejudices, discrimination we talk about, and sensitize them. In City, we do quite a few stuff around this to sensitize our managers. We recently organized a series of workshops, which we called it navigating the multi-generational workforce, to break these kind of stereotypes and create a kind of a to sensitize our managers. If you really want to gauge your employees' value and success, focus on what they bring to the table, what value they add, not on their age. Remember, each of your employees have different interests. Individuals at a different stages in their life have different motivation and goals. As HR professional, we need to be mindful of them. The golden mantra is keep every employee engaged. How do you do that? We'll see next slide. Moderator, please. Yeah. So there are a few things I want to talk about. I'll not necessarily talk about things which are mentioned here. I maybe talk about one or two things here, but I would like to share some real life examples, especially our own city examples. We are very clear. We at least we started realizing now that there is no one size fit all. Okay, be it your policies, be it your benefit programs. I assume you are HR professionals, like budding HR professional, you understand the difference between a pay and benefit. A pay is a salary, okay, which is paid on a month-on-month basis. A benefit is something which you avail, which is non-monetary, for which an organization, uh, you know, spend for it. For example, the insurance, the medical insurance, or your transportation, or your holiday benefits. These are benefits, okay. Whether you avail it or not, organization pays for it, and it's for all, right? Maybe some organization it's a grade based. What happens when, as an HR manager, I create a benefit program, okay, same for everyone, every generation, that doesn't serve purpose. Uh, Recently, we did a sort of a survey. Most of our employees are millennials, right? People born in 70s and 80s. Their expectation is they want more of a better medical insurance program, a better hospital medical coverage, so that if something happens to them or their family members, they are taken care of, so that they don't need to worry about medical expenses. If I talk to a Gen Z like you, people in the early 20s who just joined us from campus, they don't really bother about medical insurance because most of them would not have a dependent. And for them also, like, the chance of them falling sick is limited. They want better, different benefits, right? They want benefits like, give me a gym membership. Don't waste money for my insurance. I don't need an insurance record. I'll take care. Give me that money, buy me a medical, gym membership, or buy me a vacation package. So therefore, like, from as an HR professional, when you work, when you work your benefit program, when you work your policies, you need to be mindful. Different generations, need different benefit program with different policies. There are a few things which we do in city I would like to share to manage the multi-generational workforce. One is, like, we create generational network where we get bunch of people across the generation, okay, across the 4 5 generation we saw, and ask them to work on promoting generational diversity at workplace. This work group basically organize events such as games, sporting events, panel discussions, leadership talks, speed mentoring, and much more, so that there is a respect for each other is developed, and we promote the generational diversity.
I will request all the participants to please keep themselves on mute. So you can continue, please.
Yeah. Other important thing which I personally favor is that from HR point of view, what we have recently started in city is that reverse mentoring. I am sure, like, many of you would have sort of heard about it. If not, enough and more material is available. Please go and sort of go through that. There are enough and more YouTube talks are available. Enough and more written materials. Harvard Business Review materials. A lot of it is available. The reverse mentoring is a mentoring where, in a typical mentoring, a senior coach a junior, right? In a reverse mentoring, it's other way around. A junior coach senior. Okay. Uh, I take it seriously, right? I all the time have in last 10 odd years, ever since I realized that I'm old enough, I start having reverse mentors. People who just come out of college, the management trainees. I spend time with them. I ask them feedback. I try to understand how they think, what is new be it technology, be it workflows, many different things. I tend to spend time with them in both in a formal and informal setting and try to learn from them. Okay, this is a reverse mentoring. You need a lot of maturity and confidence to do this, and we have been sort of. I personally continue to benefit out of it. We sort of encourage our managers to make use of it. When you become HR people, and when you become HR managers and want to promote gender diversity in your workplace, generation diversity in your workplace, I would urge you to use this. This is a very effective medium, okay, to sort of a very effective intervention to promote generational diversity. We organize, series of emotional and physical wellness initiatives that cater again to the different work groups, different age group, and sort of promote gender diversity. These are the few things we do. We sort of do in city, and I'm not going to sort of talk about it. There are enough and more material available, and if you guys are interested, you can feel free to write to me through LinkedIn or anything, and I'm happy to share further things. Finally, I just want to share with you. Moderator, move to next slide. These are a few. I'm not going to talk away. Take a minute, just go through yourself. From my side, this is a key takeaway for you. Okay, just remember this. Enough of monologue. Okay, I'll pause here. Take a time to read this, and I'm happy to take any further questions.
Okay. Well,
There's one more slide, I guess.
Yep. Harini, can you please move to the next slide?
Move to the next slide. Next slide.
Yes.
Thank you again. I really enjoyed this session. Okay. Whatever we say here, we all want to be helpful. We all want to feel valued. We all want to job security. We all want to work and have meaning. This is something unifies all of us, whether you are in late 40s or early 50s or in early 20s. This cuts across the generation. Therefore, there are differences between different age groups, but there's nothing wrong about it, and nothing needs to be worried about. Thank you. I enjoyed this session, and I'm happy to take questions for next 10 minutes.
Well, thank you so much, sir. And I'm actually, I'm pretty much fascinated with your valuable thoughts on today's topic that we have on multi-generational workforce. We all agree, understand, and we do realize the challenge ahead. Few things, that I personally like, and I have made a note of it. The first line, what I like, the statement that you have passed was keep every employee engaged. And that is what each and every organization has to go with it in this pandemic. Now, I also like about when you said, be flexible, provide specific regular feedbacks, avoid stereotypes, vary your communication approaches, develop ways to share and transfer knowledge, provide professional development, and always create a space, where you have an open dialogue sessions between the employees and the employers in order to understand the true potential of what the candidates or the employees are looking for. Saying with this, today I have 3 questions which has been coming. So I would like to go with question number 1. Now this is coming directly from Prasad CV. He says,
can we close the deck so that we can see each other? Yes.
Right. So the first question that is coming from Prasad CV, he says, what challenges does a multi-generational team pose for management?
Okay, that's what we pretty much discussed, right? The biggest challenge is the mindset. Okay, the myths I spoke about. Myth that uh, you know, you know, the youngsters are irresponsible, not loyal. The senior people, people, aged people lack energy. Okay, so the mindset, the myths are toxic, as I mentioned, and that's the one which sort of makes a workplace really bad. Okay, so if you have a manager, if you have a leader, if you have a CEO who thinks that old people are useless, or if you have a CEO who thinks that the youngsters are irresponsible, then you're going to have an organization which is a single generational, right? Either you'll have only youngsters or you're going to have only old people. That mindset is a challenge, if you ask me. I don't know if I answer to the Prasad's question.
No, sir, you are absolutely right. Mindset plays a very crucial role.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And that's what I would expect an HR people to sort of address. Coach your managers, coach your leaders, coach, of course, sensitize your employees, that being respectful to each other. Ages are just a number.
True, sir. You're absolutely right. Age is just a number, and learning is a continuous process. The more you learn, the more you understand, and learning will always have a two-way conversations where you can have a very nice rapport with your manager. Thank you, sir, for the first question. Now, there is another question which is coming from Akshay. Now, this question is, he says that risk for us through upcoming AI software, and what should be the skills that should be carried out considering, the multi-generational workforce?
Okay. Uh, you know, Artificial intelligence or AI is sort of overused. Okay, 5 years back, people told us that in banking you will not have employees, you'll have only bots doing things. That you'll do it with at least all the back end work, which has not happened. Okay, uh, while in future, uh, as they call it, STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, are going to play a very crucial role, are going to be in demand. But equally important is going to be the humanities. Okay, not every employee or everyone is required to do a coding in an organization. Okay, you need people with different skill sets in an organization. While you may have people with a software writing or someone who appreciates engineering very much, but there are people with a different background, different experience are required. Understanding of science and technology, understanding of a bit of understanding of computer, and being open to learning new technology is helpful. But it's not correct to say that uh, artificial intelligence or software is everything. In an organization, you need people with the different skill sets. What I'm more, City, usually, you can Google and see, we every year we publish, City globally publish a report, which is in association with Cambridge University. Last year report I was reading, okay, as much as you are going to have demand for science and technology and so on and so forth, equally, if not less, you're going to have a demand for people who are good in humanities, like people like us, people in HR, or people who are in communication are going to be in great demand. Therefore, you do what you are good at. Each of us have our own strengths. Leverage your strength. If you feel like you have an aptitude for engineering, pursue an engineering career. If you feel like you have an aptitude for humanities, pursue a career which is related to that. Don't force fit. Like if you don't understand, or if you don't have any interest for engineering, you should not do that. Okay. Uh, in future, we are going to have varied career opportunities going to come. Very different career opportunities are going to come. it is not true that only we are going to have career opportunities, people who knows coding and who can work with artificial intelligence.
Thank you so much, sir. There is one last question for today. Now, myths and stereotypes you started with was a nice consolidation. Now, do you suggest that it is straightforward, or do you suggest any specific practices for us to be ready?
Sorry, I don't think I get your question. You are saying,
So-
you're asking for a solution for a myth and stereotype, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. It's easier said than done. I know I've sort of, in one of my slides, I tried covering it. It's a lengthy topic. Like, the purpose of this session is not to educate you, only to sort of increase your curiosity, right? There are enough and more material available. Go and talk to people. Okay. Myths and stereotypes we all used to, okay, which we need to break. There is no single solution to that. Okay. The first step I would say is that being aware that there exist myths and stereotypes. Okay. Awareness that there are myths and stereotypes, and think about solution. Without even accepting that there is a myths and stereotype, you will not be able to think about solution. Once you realize that there is a myths and stereotypes, then think how you can influence people, how you can sort of demonstrate to people, like how if you are in a commercial organization, and if you feel like your managers operate with certain myths and stereotypes, you need to sort of demonstrate to them that these myths and stereotypes impact the business. Show them how breaking these myths and stereotypes help in the business, help in developing business, and they'll definitely listen to you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Definitely, it answers the question. Right. There's one last question, sir, for the day, and we will quickly finish it off. Now, this is coming directly from Nikhil from BIMS. So you told us that you have implemented the idea of reverse mentoring. Now, what do you think are the benefits that can be derived from that?
Okay, there are benefits to both mentor as well as mentee. Okay, assume you are my mentor, reverse mentor. Okay, you're a youngster. I'm a, by mentoring me, you learn, right? Like how old people like me think, right? What are the challenges someone like me at a senior level faces? Okay, that you can use when you become leader, when you reach a senior level. Okay, that's one point. As a mentor, as a mentee, okay, when I interact with youngsters, okay, I operate on, what are we? We are all bunch of thoughts, bunch of experience, right? We operate basis what we have seen and grown with, right? I've sort of grown with, as I told you, like, when born up, no TV at home, like TV got much later. Internet, I created my email ID when I was 28, 29, my personal email ID. Okay, I got my official email ID after 3-4 years of starting my work. Okay, that may be, something like a surprise to you, but that's how we are. Like, I'm sure all of you are born with an email ID. Like, I'm sure many of you would have used email even at school days, right? You would have seen, like, I was referring to printouts, right? Even for this, okay, people like me, we need printouts. Okay, I could have very well projected things like, refer to laptop. I have a laptop, 2 laptops in front of me and the iPad, but still I need a printout. Like, that's how I grew up, right? For me, it is important to sort of spend time with people like you, understand, like, how you operate and how I can become less reliant on paper. This is only an analogy I'm using, a paper. Okay, to me, a paper is again something which I could have avoided, right? How do youngsters operate? Like, I've seen people, using phones, not even laptops or anything, to transfer the work. Okay, taking notes in the phone itself. Okay, so how can I become more technologically savvy? I'm giving an example, right? And again, reverse mentoring. If I'm an HR manager, if I'm a leader, if I'm a CEO, okay, I'm managing employees. Good number of them are youngsters. Then I need to know, like, what they think, what they want, what is their aspiration, what do they, behave. Who are they? Okay, this reverse mentoring helps me. Understand?
Yes, sir, pretty much. In fact, thank you, sir. It's actually been a great session that we had today with you, sir. And I'm sure all the participants who are present here would have gained a meaningful information. As a token of love and gratitude, sir, we present this e-bouquet to you. Harini, can you please?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Very lovely. And like to again thank Raja and the NIPM Meta chapter for this opportunity. And you guys have been really good, very professionally done. Let me tell you, I was a bit worried, like, all the time I invited for campuses, and not every time my sessions go so smooth, very well organized. I can see the efforts gone behind it. Really appreciate good, very insightful questions. Thank you very much. Feel free to reach out to me, write to me through LinkedIn if you need further questions.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you once again.